You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Zach Bechtold and Matt Franks. If you'd like to learn more about the Bearded Theologians, you can go online at beardedtheologians.com, where we have past podcasts, blogs, and a couple items for sale. So check us out, beardedtheologians.com. Thank you for listening, and enjoy this week's show.
You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast, hosted by Matt Franks
and Zach Bechtold.
So this week on the podcast, I will have surgery by the time this airs, and we were kind of kicking around ideas, and Zach looked up what the verse of the day was in his Bible app, and we discovered that the verse of the day today is Hebrews 12:1. And so, Zach, as you look at that verse, what are some things that come to mind for you?
Yeah, certainly. I'm going to, as always, read the scripture, and we're going to do Hebrews 12, verses 1 and 2. So then with endurance, let also run the race that is laid out in front of us. Since we have such a great cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let's throw off any extra baggage, get rid of the sin that trips us up, and fix our eyes on Jesus, faith's pioneer and perfecter, enduring the cross, ignoring the shame for the sake of the joy that was laid out in front of him, and sat down at the right side of God's throne. And so that's definitely, at least in my life and in set of circumstances, has been a scripture that's been thrown out quite a bit in a lot of different ways. The race metaphor is often out there in a variety of ways. And then, you take this time of the season with the Olympics going on, and it seems to some of fashion because we're seeing all kinds of races and things. But I don't know, there's some days that I really like the scripture. There are other days where it feels like our faith, the way in which we live it out is maybe a race, maybe not a race. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't, because it tends to put an emphasis on, well, if there's a race, we have to win, and to win, somebody has to lose. And I struggle with that when we throw that type of emphasis on any kind of scripture, but especially with this. And that's why I thought it was important to lay out the second verse, as we fix eyes upon Jesus, this person who came and showed us how to live out our faith, showed us how to live out love and grace in such a way that I feel like that ties into this idea of a race, that we have a beginning and an ending in our life, and how we live that out is important.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I didn't have a segue in for you. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Like what you said sounds good. Not that
you can't just hashtag ditto the podcast.
I just did. I got a lot on my mind, getting ready to have my hip drilled again, or new hip, I guess, or other hip drilled again, or however you want to look at it.
I'd be happy to put a fastball in your hip.
Thinking about this verse, and this is one that's typically read at All Saints Sundays, those days that we remember those saints that have gone before us. And this year for us will be a very hard one because we've lost some very saintly people of the church. And when I always talk about this verse, I always say, one of the things I always say is that people definitely, those that we believe are saints, or the people that definitely have their eyes fixed upon Jesus, and that this race that is laid out before us, we're not alone on it. Not only is God with us, but those saints that have gone before us are cheering us on and leading us forward. And I even think of one of the things I loved about watching the Olympics, my favorite has been yesterday. I was watching, and I don't remember what race it was, but it was a swimming race, and there was a guy from, I think it was Egypt. He just got so excited. The coach got so excited that his mask ripped off because he was just jumping up and down and screaming, and it was just could you imagine if we as church folk would share that same excitement with other church folk when they're going through things, or they're going, as they're going through their own trials and tribulations, and we could share that kind of excitement with people of like, hey, you've got this, it's going to be okay. Like, and just continue to coach people up. We kind of right now are living in a society where tearing down people seems to be the easiest thing, where we could actually just, what if we actually reverse the trend and actually found ways that we could build people up to help them on their race that's laid out before them? I think that would definitely change some perspective on some things.
Yeah, no, I like that. And that would be the one thing that I'd like to focus on too. Or I like to focus on is the great cloud of witnesses, all of those that surround us. And you're right. The Olympics are a perfect example in that of we just cheer, right? We like to cheer for the hometown team, but man, just cheering for people, seeing them get out there and do their best is a beautiful thing. I was reading a book, or I read a book the other day called I Hate Running and You Can Too. I've mentioned it on the podcast, but there's a whole chapter in how do we encourage people? How do we encourage each other? And he talks about, any length of race, whether it's, a mile, a 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, whatever, runners will write their names on their bib. And as they're running through, there's just a great cloud of witnesses cheering them on. And if their name's on their bib as they're crossing the finish line or checkpoint, the people just gather and cheer them on, and it welled up quite a bit of excitement and emotion for me as I read that of, oh my gosh, this is what it looks like to be a community. It doesn't matter who's running. It doesn't matter who, if it's not your person that you're cheering on, it's just people surrounding each other and that encouragement and that just that great cloud of witness. And it took me to that exact place of when we gather as community, when we do communion, when we do these things, we just cheer each other on. And what a beautiful space to hold for folks. And I don't know that we do that enough. I think you're right. I think we use a lot of things to tear each other down or tear people down or, live into that win-lose race metaphor, right? Rather than surrounding each other with joy, with excitement, with love, with grace, with encouragement, with everything in between. And I think that's sometimes what we miss out of this, out of our faith and practice, but also out of the scripture.
Well, it's because let's be real, we're all running the same race. And and yes, people are running, races are different lengths and people are doing different things. And, we should honor and respect those. And even those that are different than us, how can we be in space with those people and care for one another, like genuinely care for one another? And that's going to stretch us and pull us too. Like, I think of my daughter runs track. And so when I was, this fall or the spring, when I went to her track meets, I made sure that every time I saw a Tahlequah kid run by, I would always yell, "Hey, go Tahlequah, keep it up." If I didn't know the kid's name, if I knew the kid's name, I'd use their name. Because man, nothing as someone who actually did run a few races in his high school glory days, nothing excited you more when you could hear your people cheering you on or cheering your school on. And so like, I feel like if we could, as people of faith, could you imagine, really, I think this is a good place to land for us today. What would it look like to cheer people on? What would that look like for us? What would that look like in your faith context, whether you attend a church, whether you don't attend a church? Like, if you're part of a faith community, one of the great things that I remember growing up in high school was when my church folk were sitting together, in the stands on Friday nights, and they'd cheer on everything from the cheer team to the band, to the football team. And, you knew who they were. You knew they were the Methodist middle, because that's where they would sit, is in the middle, and they were the Methodists. And so it makes sense, the Methodist middle. And so I think, those things that we can do to lift people up, man, they just go a long way. And I think it's something that we should strive for as we run this race together. Sound good?
That's good to me.
Okay. Let's land there for today. And so we want to encourage you to go to our website at beardedtheologians.com and check out all of our great past Beardcast and all of our great stuff that we have that you can buy and purchase and wear, or mugs or anything else that we have available. And so I know Zach is hungry. It is lunchtime. And so for the Bearded Theologians, I'm Matt Franks.
I'm Zach Bechtold. Thanks for checking us out.
First, guys, I want you to subscribe and like this video and push that thumbs up.
Thank you for listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all social media outlets. You can check out old episodes and more information at beardedtheologians.com. Thanks for checking us out.